Hi guys, Mike with Fights with Friends here. Everybody please hit that like button. If you're new, of course, hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when I upload new videos or when I go live streaming. If you like what I do here, it would be greatly appreciated. Please go to paypal.me/Fights with Friends to donate to this channel to help me to continue to what I do here. Of course, Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier are about to get into the cage at UFC 226 in just a few days on July 7th. The day before, there's some unfinished business. Ultimate Fighter Finale. And it's a great card. We're going to see two new contestants enter the UFC, six-figure contracts, of course, 2 championships. We'll get into that. We got a great main event and co-main event, and some guys that were in the house that didn't fight each other that will be fighting each other. Some great matchups. We're going to start this off with Gunther versus Zuniga. Gunther was in the semifinals. He was 4-0 coming into the UFC. 2 finishes. He impressed Dana White enough to get on the show in just 4 fights in his career. He ended up in the semifinals because of an injury from Luis Pena, but he was there nonetheless. He was quickly finished by Joe Giannetti, who ended up in the finals. So who knows how far Gunther, or what he would have done if not being matched up against Giannetti. Zuniga was also stopped quickly by Joe Giannetti, being forced to shoot for a takedown. Joe was picking apart from the outside. Joe Giannetti's got great striking, and Allen was forced to go out of his wheelhouse, go for a takedown, and Giannetti quickly submitted him in a guillotine. So we didn't get to see a whole lot of him. We got to see a little bit more of Gunther. Zuniga was 13-0 before coming into TUF, though. 4 subs, 3 knockouts. Both these guys are grinders. I expect this one to go to a decision. I'm going to pick Zuniga by unanimous decision, though. I think he's got more skills than Gunther. I think he's just got more experience, and I think he grinds this one out. Let's get into the next fight on this Ultimate Fighter Finale. Everybody tell me what you think, though. Give me your predictions for this fight, and we're going to break down some of the top fights from this card, and of course the fights for the championships and the main and co-main event. Hi guys, Ultimate Fighter Finale, undefeated season 27 for the contract. Second match I'm going to be breaking down is Luis Pena versus Richie Smullen. These guys were on the show. Neither one of them got to continue. Neither one of them lost, but unfortunately they had injuries that made them unable to continue in the show. Now they're going to fight each other. 2 of the top prospects coming into this. Let me start out with Luis Pena. For one thing, I love the guy's nickname, the Violent Bob Ross, and his style shows it. Very creative striker. Smeared the cage with blood in his 1 win. He ended up getting a unanimous decision win over Jose Martinez Jr. Unfortunately, he fractured his foot in that fight, week 4. That would put him on the shelf 4 to 6 weeks. Of course, in the Ultimate Fighter scenario, that's not really going to work out. So Gunther, that had lost earlier, took his place. Came back in and went to the semifinals. Could have been Luis Pena, but it wasn't. Richie Smolin had even a little bit more bad luck. Now, the TUF Ultimate Fighter story is he wasn't able to fight because of muscle spasms. Luis Pena was his teammate at the time. He actually defended him, said it was a lot more than that. He took to Twitter to say that he was upset with how the Ultimate Fighter had represented Richie Smolin, and actually Smolin's body organs had started to shut down from some muscle spasms, dehydrating, maybe overtraining, some different things that were going on. We don't know exactly what was going on. What I do know is these guys were 2 of the top prospects coming into this. 2 of the favored guys to get the contracts, and they're still great prospects. Richie Smolin 6-0. He comes out of SBG Ireland. I think this is a sleeper fight of the night, guys. Honestly, these guys both have straightforward styles. I think Luis Pena is maybe a bit more accurate. Smolin maybe a bit more reckless, but he comes out of that SPG Ireland camp. Those guys are on fire. I think this is a sleeper fight of the night, honestly. I'm going to pick Luis Pena because I think his more accurate striking and just maybe a little more composed mixed martial artist by third round knockout. But I think this is a great fight. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know down below who you think wins this and who you think wins those six-figure contracts. I hope you guys are enjoying your 4th of July weekend, and I hope you're enjoying Fights with Friends extended preview of Ultimate Fighter Undefeated Finale, Team Miocic versus Team Cormier. Let's get into the co-main event. If you're not subscribed here, what are you waiting for? Please hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you in the community. Martin Bravo versus Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres. Of course, Alex Caceres was supposed to fight back at UFC 225 against Artem Lobov. There was the whole infamous bus incident. Artem Lobov was part of the Conor McGregor gang, and those guys had way too much fun playing with dollies. So Alex finally gets his chance to step back here into the cage against Martin Bravo. Alex Bruce Lee Caceres he has 25 fights. He's 13-11-1. He's got 5 subs and 3 knockouts. He's got a very exciting style, regardless of not having a lot of finishes. He's had quite a few close split decisions that haven't gone his way. He's very unorthodox. He's been a bit inconsistent at times, to say the least. He's looked great in a phenomenal win over Sergio Pettis and a dominating unanimous decision against Cole Miller in 2016. He barely dropped a split decision in a fight that could have skyrocketed him to popularity against Yair Rodriguez. Unfortunately, he barely dropped that one. Just 2 months after that, however, he was waxed by Francisco Rivera in 21 seconds with a barrage of punches. Not good. You never know what Bruce Leroy is going to show up. Like I said, he's generally competitive in his fights. He's an odd mix, I believe, of playing up or down to his opponents. Martin Bravo, he was 11-0 with 9 finishes going into his second UFC fight with Humberto Bondone, and was a 3-1 favorite. 26 seconds into that, he gets caught with a standing knee, knocked out in the first round. It happens. Guys get caught. Does that mean that he has a weak chin? We don't know yet. He's only had 2 fights inside the UFC. Bravo will most likely come in a slight favorite against Alex, and it's unpredictable what we're going to see from Alex Caceres because he's been so up and down. My gut says Caceres by decision, but if anything, I expect this to definitely be an all-out war, and I think this is going to be a great fight to watch. Let me know what you guys think down below, and we'll be getting soon into the co-main event and those contract fights. Into the main event, excuse me, this is a co-main event, into that main event and those contract fights. So after a few months of this, guys, we're finally getting to the Ultimate Fighter finale. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I hope you guys are enjoying this extended preview of the Ultimate Fighter finale here on Fights with Friends and your 4th of July weekend. Mike Trizano was 6-0 before he came into the UFC. Joe Giannetti was also 6-0 coming into the UFC. Now they're going to fight it out for a 155-pound, multi-year, 6-figure contract. You guys know the routine. We've been doing Ultimate Fighter for 27 years now, or 27 seasons. Excuse me. Mike Trizano, 6-0 with 2 knockouts, 2 subs, 2 decisions coming into the UFC. If this was a bodybuilding contest, Mike Trizano's got it one hands down. But Joe Giannetti had all of his 6 fights inside Cage Titans banner. If you guys don't know what it is, look up Cage Titans. They're pretty competitive. They've been a feeder league at times to the UFC. He subbed Elwin Zuniga with a Darce choke in the first episode of the season. He submitted Joe Gunther by guillotine choke later on. Mike Trizano has 4 of his 6 wins by finish before coming into the UFC, 2 subs and 2 knockouts. He was 4-0 under the Ring of Combat banner. He submitted Mike Otwell in the second round at Bellator 186. So he's already seen a tough, he's already seen the big stage. It's interesting. He's got a victory on Bellator, and he decided he wanted to be in the UFC still so bad that he was willing to go through TUF. So in TUF, he finished Thailand Clark by second round knockout in the first fight. In the semifinals, Joe Gunther was brought back in due to Luis Pena's injury. He defeated it by decision. One thing that isn't brought up when they're talking about these fights, though, because they want to build them up, is Mike Trizano fought most of his fights at 145 pounds before this. So he's fighting up in weight class to try to get this 155-pound contract. Joe Giannetti fought most of his fights at 165, so he's making big cuts. Much bigger guy, though. Giannetti has 5 subs from Cage Titans in his 6 wins. I picked the larger Giannetti to submit Trizano in the second round. Let me know what you guys think. We'll get into that other contract fight here soon in the main event. Hope you're having a great 4th of July. Stick with Fights with Friends. All right, Fights with Friends. Let's get down to the Ultimate Fighter Undefeated TUF Finale. Brad Tavares versus Israel Adesanya. I hope you've enjoyed this extended preview of Ultimate Fighter Undefeated. Let's get into the main event. Brad Tavares 17-4 versus Israel, the style bender Adesanya 13-0. Brad Tavares has finished 7 of his 17 wins, 5 wins by knockout, 2 by submission. If you've heard that name for a long time, it's really hard to believe that he's only 30 years old. He started in MMA in 2017 when he was only 19 years old. Over the years, he's had some big victories. From a 2011 first-round knockout of Phil Baroni. This is the old Phil Baroni, not the new Phil Baroni. Lorenz Larkin, he's got a victory over Nate Marquardt. Since losing to Robert Whittaker by first-round KO in 2015, he's won 4 straight, including a unanimous decision over Tawas Latis and a third-round knockout over Krzysztof Joko just 10 weeks ago. So he's very fresh off victory. Didn't sustain a lot of, any injuries or a lot of damage in that fight. So he's going to jump right back in there against the style bender, and I got to commend him for that. Israel Adesanya, let's start on him though. 13-0, 12 knockouts, burst onto the UFC scene with a second-round knockout and performance of the night against Rob Wilkinson. He won his second fight over Martin Vettori by split decision. He held world championships in AFC and Hex FC before coming to the UFC. Personally, I believe 2 fights in, it's a bit quick to be a headliner. I think the hype is maybe getting to be a bit much. Although most pick Adesanya to win this fight, I think he probably comes in a pretty big favorite. I think it's a tough sell myself at this point. I think Brad Tavares does pull this off by decision. I'm probably going to be in the minority on that one. But Israel Adesanya, he'll learn from this. I think he's definitely got potential to be a future champion. But I think Brad's not quite getting the credit he deserves here. And I think maybe they're bringing Adesanya along a little too quickly. Like I said, only 2 fights in the UFC. One of them he barely won by split decision. Hasn't faced, any name opponents yet. He's just got an entertaining style. So we'll see what he does with that. Am I completely off on that? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you think will win this fight, the 6-figure contracts, and let's get into UFC 226. I'm going to break down the entire main card, UFC 226, so look for those out there. And Let me know what you think about my prediction on all these fights. As always, I love you, I respect you, and I'll see you fine asses later.